Hey friends, welcome back to the Emerald Corner. I am so excited for today's episode. I'm going to be sharing with you a recent workshop that I did with my friend Jade Smith. She is the CEO and founder of Mrs. Smith Assists. So it's kind of like a virtual assistant company, but she also has kind of an arm of that company that's like a CEO advisory firm. And so it's a really interesting combination between the two of us as we share this conversation with our audience. So we're going to talk about basically how to have a profitable small business while kind of maintaining that life that you love, which is the overarching theme of this channel. So, she's going to be addressing it from the standpoint of the CEO and how to have a less self centered business and prioritize rest and make sure you're also able to be productive as well. And then I'm going to be taking it from the standpoint of the finances, from building a money making machine. So, really great content, really great conversation, tons of value for you guys as the watchers or listeners. And I'm really excited to share that with you now. All right. So, first thing is first. I'm Kimberly Ferguson, small business CFO expert, tax strategist, and your new BFF, which I translate to mean your new best financial friend. So I like to use my financial background to help small business owners have a growing and more profitable business. And the reason that I'm successful at this is precisely because I understand both sides of a business, the financial side and the business ownership side. So as an accountant, I can look at the business and spot the underlying reasons why a business is not profitable or maybe has poor cash flow issues. And most importantly, I know how to fix it. So I know how to make a business grow and become more profitable. So I'm on a mission to eradicate entrepreneurial poverty and help your business grow. I'm also a lover of all things green, as you'll see throughout this workshop. I'm a licensed pilot, and in my spare time, I like to compose and write my own music. That's kind of a fun fact.
Oh my goodness. I did not know you were a licensed pilot.
I know. I like to keep things interesting, right?
Awesome. I'm also a musician. So I'm
Yeah.
learning about you still. That's so exciting. Well, hello, I'm Jade, and I'm super excited to be here and get to present with Kimberly. I love what she said about eradicating entrepreneur poverty, and that's so important. And there's a lot that I'm going to be talking about today to partner with that in the operations side, like growing a team and how you are aligning those things with what the financial side looks like, because there's a lot of different pieces of growing the business. So more about me. My name is Jade. I'm the owner of Mrs. Smith Assist. We're a boutique virtual assistant agency. We support businesses in their administrative, their marketing, and their systems. And I'm a systems specialist. I work a lot in Dubsado. It's a CRM that can automate proposals, invoicing, workflows, lots of automation things. And so I love systems and operations together. So I do a lot of consulting one-on-one with business owners as they're ironing out their systems and as they're trying to get high level, delegate different pieces to the team. And I'm also a homeschool mom and a musician, as I shared. Yeah, I'm just super excited to dive in with you guys.
So before we jump in, and not to put you too much on the spot, but what makes you so interested in Dubsado? I've kind of always wondered what's so great about the platform. Like, share with us if you don't mind.
Yeah, Dubsado is really an all-in-one tool. And so it's really great for like the front end client experience. So you can have a form that's like on your website. When people reach out to contact you, they can choose just a variety of options of how they want to partner with you. And those options can represent workflows. So they're choosing on the front end, like how they want to work with you, maybe the different offers that you have, whether that's speaking, whether it's a one-on-one offer, whether it's, a few different packages that you have lined out. And then when they choose that option, it can kick off a whole series of automated things that are happening behind the scenes. So it's like prepping a proposal to send off to them, sending them your discovery call link, prepping a series of things like the contract, the invoice with a payment plan, and the whole onboarding process once they sign on from the proposal. So there's a lot
Wow.
that Digital can do, and it really can be customized to a unique business, to a unique industry. So you'll see it a lot with like photographers, wedding designers, people in the creative space, and also virtual assistants, coaches, even financial advisors like Kimberly are using. So it's a really cool tool.
Wow. Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I know we're not really talking about that in this presentation, but I just was, when you said it, I was like, I want to know more.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, to kind of share a little bit more about what we'll actually be covering. So today's agenda, we're going to be talking about why most businesses fail, the difference between a business that's kind of like a machine versus a business that's more like a job that you happen to own, the 3 sources of money for every business. We're going to be defining the CEO role, determining if your business is a self-centered business. That's a big one. And how to get back control of time and money with your business. Why most business owners are making less than $100,000 in income. Keys to productivity, keys to rest, and the 16 drivers that drive the revenue, profit, and cash flow in every business that you as the owner need to be watching like a hawk. So lots of really good stuff. I'm super excited to jump in. Right. So let's start talking about why most businesses fail. Many of you probably already know this, but most businesses do fail. Unfortunately, it's a fact of life. And here are some of those statistics. So 20% of businesses usually fail within the first year, 35% within the second year, 50% within the 5th year or by the 5th year, and 80% by the 10th year. So a way that I kind of like to shift the narrative on this one is I'm going to share a poll with you guys. Let me know which one of these statistics have you overcome in your business. So if you've made it through the first year, then you've overcome the 20% failure. If you've made it through the second, you've overcome the 35%. So which one of these statistics are you? Which one are you, Jade?
I am in the 5 years.
Nice. So you have overcome the 50% failure rate. That is amazing.
That is a big deal. What about you?
Yeah. So we've been in business for 8 years now. So I've also overcome the 50%. Not quite to the 80% yet, but we're getting there.
We're almost there.
I know, so close. So yeah, I kind of like to phrase that in a different way. It's one of the things that we'll kind of talk about in the later on, or I should say Jade will talk about, is kind of reframing how you see things in your business. And this is one of those ways that I like to do that. So if you think about it, 1 in every 2 businesses are gone by their 5th birthday. So all of that time, all of that energy, all of that money is just gone. All the hopes and dreams of the owner, gone. So all the owner is left with is most likely a ton of debt and the realization that now they have to go back and get a job, which is probably most business owners, worst nightmare. So the reason why all these businesses end up failing is because they lack money, right? So every business that has ever been in business could still be in business today if they were able to have access to money, right? So money literally solves every problem in business. If you have a marketing problem, money allows you to do more marketing and hire marketing professionals. If you have a management problem, money allows you to get better managers and or it allows you to hire people so that you can manage instead of working in your business. If you have a down market, the money actually allows you to weather the storm. If you have a seasonal business, then the money allows you to make it through to the next season where you'll be busy again. If you have a sales problem, money allows you to improve your product or your service and hire more salespeople or better salespeople. The list is endless, but the point is that money solves pretty much every problem in business. Now, this is just a side note, but people hate the fact that money is the most important factor in a business. You don't want to talk about how you want to make more money. It's always like, we have some sort of other motive for being in business. And a lot of the times that's true. You do have some sort of other motive for being in business, but you can't fulfill that without the money. So just a caveat here before we continue. Money is not the root of all evil. But I should say the way that you look at money, it can be. So if you're utilizing the money or idolizing the money or things like that, that is what's going to cause the problem. It's not actually the money. We need money to live. We need money to have growing and profitable businesses. So try not to look at money as the evil here. It's just the tool that we're going to use to be successful and meet all of our other goals, which we'll talk about later. So in your business, money can come from 3 different sources. It can come from debt, so credit cards, bank loans, or sometimes vendors. Like if you put off paying your vendor, you can obviously get cash from that. It comes from other investments like your personal savings or if you sell a piece of your business to somebody else. And then it can come from the business operations, so money that the business actually creates. And obviously, this is going to be the best way to make money in your business, right? So basically, we're talking about all the cash that comes in minus any of the money that has to go out for expenses. Whatever is left over, that's whatever you have here as far as bringing money into the business. So to beat the survival rates that we talked about, you must get good at making money. And of the 3 ways to make money, obviously we have a clear winner here. We want to get good at making money from the business operations. Why? Well, some debt can be good or useful, I should say. If it's used to buy something that's going to produce a return on investment, such as equipment that's needed to, create your product or develop your service, whatever that looks like, then that can be acceptable. But relying on debt is really not a sustainable way to run a business. So a business that relies on debt to survive is eventually going to go out of business. And the owner is still going to have to pay all that debt. Also, a business that can't support itself must rely on outside debt or other investments either has one of 2 things going on. One, there's a chance of making like a lot of money down the road. So if you're doing like a pharmaceutical company or a tech business like app development, that kind of stuff, when those things launch, obviously you can make a lot of money and your business could be fine. Option number 2 is that the business is not working and it can't survive on its own. Most businesses, unfortunately, fall into the second category. So bottom line, your business must get good at making money. So how do we do that? The answer lies in turning your business into what I call a money-making machine. So let's use the example of a washing machine. Its purpose is to wash clothes. It's made up of multiple parts. If it fails at doing what it's supposed to do, wash clothes, there's a reason why. And if you can find that reason why and you can fix it, then your machine will go back to doing what it's supposed to do. Wash clothes, right? Pretty simple. It's the exact same thing with a business. So your business should be thought of as a machine. Its purpose is to make money. It's made of multiple parts. If it fails at doing what it's supposed to do, make money, there's a reason why. So if you can find that reason why and fix it, then your machine will get back to doing what it's supposed to do, make money. So the good news is that like a washing machine, every business is made up of the same parts. And each part has a hand in helping the business do what it's supposed to do. So to get your business to make money or more money, you simply need to get familiar with all of those parts so that you can spot the parts that aren't working properly and then do something about it. So we're going to be talking a little bit more about those parts in a little bit that you need to be paying attention to. But first, let's look at what happens if your machine isn't functioning properly or at all, worst case scenario. So if money isn't being generated from your machine, your business, and you don't or you can't pour your own money into it, and you don't or you can't take on more debt, then you'll have a business that will eventually go out of business, worst case scenario, or you'll have a business that will constantly struggle to grow best case scenario. And I don't know about you, but neither one of these scenarios sounds great to me, which is why we're here. Either way, you as the machine owner are going to be constantly stressed out, overworked, and underpaid. And at the same time, most business owners are afraid of their business failing for a couple reasons. One, they depend on their business working, right? Their business has to work. Their families depend on their business working. Their employees' families depend on their business working. And they have put so much time and energy and money into their business that, it has to work, right? And then number two is most business owners can't go back to a job. Let's be honest. We're unemployable. You can't go back to working for someone else again. You've tasted freedom and you don't want to lose it. And I don't blame you. But ironically, most business owners own a job and they don't even realize it. So what's the difference? Most business owners own a job, a very stressful, a low paying, and a high demanding job. But most owners don't realize this until after they've started their business. In fact, most business owners start or buy a business because they want control, which is the opposite of a job. They want control of their time. They want control of how much money they make, probably, a few other things as well. But ironically, because most businesses struggle to do what businesses are supposed to do, which is make money, the owner loses control that they wanted in the first place. So they have to work more in the business because they can't afford not to. And they sometimes have to work for less because they have to lower their prices for competition. At the same time, most business owners who started a business because they want control also probably started it because they were skilled at a craft. So an HVAC tech starts an HVAC business. A dentist starts a dental practice. A marketing expert starts a marketing firm. The list goes on, right? And so the business owner inadvertently starts a business that's more like a job that they happen to own. But unlike a job, there's no steady paycheck and there's no one to guide the owner. So in the absence of a steady paycheck and the guidance that they need, the owner does what the owner knows how to do, and that is rely on their skills. Right? So the HVAC tech spends most of their time working on HVAC units. The dentist spends most of their time working on patients. Marketing expert spends most of their time marketing, right? So on and so on. And so then the other functions of the machine tend to struggle, right? Things like getting clients, making sales, ensuring prices are optimized, knowing when to expand, knowing if marketing is producing a return on investment, understanding the numbers, hiring, firing, managing employees, on and on and on and on, right? And so the business struggles. The business struggles because the business owner is the one wearing all of the hats. The business struggles because the business owner who wanted to practice their craft ends up having to do all the things that they don't necessarily like and they're not necessarily good at. Raise your hand if you can relate. For sure. So the business struggles because the business is ran like a job and not a machine, especially not like a money-making machine. So eventually even their craft begins to suffer because the business owner is overwhelmed and stressed. So they bought themselves a very stressful, a very expensive, and a very low-paying job. In fact, 86.3% of business owners make less than $100,000 a year in income. And if you're making less than $100,000 in income, then you are making way too little, taking on too much risk, and spending too much time that you may as well go back and get a job. For $100,000, most people think it's not really worth it. And most business owners, as we just saw, are making less than that. So these business owners kind of have the worst of both worlds. They have a job without a steady paycheck, and they have a business without the control that they actually wanted. So we're going to talk about this a little bit more, but first, over to Jade to talk about all of this stress and efficient operations and how that weighs on you as a CEO.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's like so yeah, I love the statistic that you dropped in. It's a really eye-opening thing for business owners to recognize and to kind of come face to face with that reality that you are looking at facts, you're looking at statistical facts. How much money am I making versus how much energy am I putting into this? And a business is really an investment, but if you think about it, I love the like picture that you gave of the washing machine, and so many business owners feel like it breaks down and then they just throw it out. And it's like, well, all of your investment, your hard-earned investment is just getting thrown out because you're overrun, you're tired, when there's things that can be fixed. And so one of the first things I want to say is that having mentorship, having someone that can help you get outside of the situation and really look into the situation to assess what needs to be fixed is so huge and so crucial. And on the money side, Kimberly is great at that. Can you share a little bit? I know you might again at the end, but can you share a little bit more about the like assessment audit thing that you do?
Yeah, so I'll talk about that a little bit more at the end for sure. But basically, what we want to do is go through your business financials and kind of see what's going well, what's maybe not going as well. Kind of give you like almost like a health assessment of how your business financials look. So we can kind of give you a little bit of that information. And then we like to kind of like dive deep. So on a call with you, we kind of go through the financials, but we also, we want to go through your goals. We want to go through what you envision for your business and how you really want that to look. Because like I said, making money, it's not evil, but it's also not the motivating factor. Like most people are motivated by something else. So we want to kind of dive into that so that we can kind of connect it to the money and help you make the connection as to how those two things can work together.
That's so good. I love the health assessment terminology for what that looks like. And I was thinking when Kimberly's talking about money solves every problem, it's so true. Money solves a lot of problems, but it can also create problems. And so I think a
Totally.
financial, yeah, I think an assessment like that can be really helpful because it can kind of take the veil off and show you where things need to be addressed, where money has been creating problems instead of solving problems, because it really does work both ways.
Yeah.
Um, money is a tool. um, so if you do not have somebody that's helping you look from the outside looking in, you've got to get your people. That's one of my biggest goals for 2025 is to go out and find my people that can help me from top down. I heard somebody say recently, it was really helpful. She was like, you need tiered mentorship support. You need somebody that's ahead of you, you need somebody that's right there with you, and then you need somebody that you're mentoring underneath you. And I think that tiered 3-level approach is so beneficial no matter what stage you are at in your business. And I
Yeah.
just want to remind you as we kind of jump into this section of our presentation talking about like mindset and how to take that pressure off and how to leverage a team to lean into some of these scalability things for your business, that you are not the washing machine. So it's really easy as a business owner to feel like your business is broken and there's nothing you can do with it. And we put that image of the washing machine like as ourselves, and that it failed. It's my fault that it failed. You are the leader of your business. You are not the business. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that, but just keep that at the top of your mind that you are not the washing machine. And I think being able to view the washing machine, being able to view your business a little bit more subjectively, I think, or objectively, if that's the right word, will allow you to come in with strategic partners and fix the things that are broken without feeling so defeated and without giving up. So a CEO of any business is an interdependent role. And that's really exactly what I'm talking about, that you are not central to your business. You are not central to your business success in that sense. You have a huge part to play. You are the vision leader. You are overseeing all these different areas of growth for marketing, for your team as a leader, for the finances, but it's not that dependent on you that the success of the whole thing is going to crush and fall apart and crumble if you are not there. And if that's how the business is set up right now, that's just a red flag that you need to take some steps to prevent that from happening. Because if things start to fall apart, it means you don't have help. And that doesn't have to look like a full scale, full blown team where you have employees, where you have like a million, advisors, but you have a support system in place so that you can move forward in a healthy way. You want the business to be looking at your role as a CEO as interdependent. And that means that it's mutually dependent. That means that the business is having an interactive relationship with you. So you're not the one coming in and doing everything and solving all the problems all on your own. The business is benefiting from you and from your role in the business, but you're also benefiting from other roles in the business, whether that's advisors, whether that's team members or automations and systems that you've built, because everything that we're going to be talking about today is applicable to a solopreneur as well as to a business that has a full-blown team. No matter what size you are, all of these principles apply. Your role as CEO needs to be a mutually dependent relationship where there's give and take on both sides. So just take a second, ask yourself a couple of questions. Do you think that your business depends on you? Does your business, do you always put your business first? There was a scenario where I was working with a client and I was getting on a call with her one morning, and she showed up and she was super frustrated. And I was like, what's going on? How are you doing? And she was like, well, blah, 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 blah. Something happened in my business and I had to deal with it and I couldn't go to my workout. And she kind of had this mentality that this always happens. And it was such a red flag moment for me where I was like, you know what? Your business should not always be stealing from you. And if you're feeling that way, it's a really good sign that you're putting the business first all the time. And then there's this mentality that your business is only going to succeed if you're on top of your game. Your business, right now I'm thinking about it, I'm like, I can feel where this applies in my personal life. If I'm not the one showing up all the time to take care of all these different things, it's just going to fall apart. And that's not true. And I think one of the first steps to being able to authentically show up in a way that feels like we're at rest and we're crushing it and we're operating in our zone of genius and that we're feeling productive, but we're also feeling at ease, is to take off this mentality and this pressure that it's all dependent upon me and it's going to fall apart if I'm not on top of my game. So do you think that the business depends on you? And do you always put it first? If you're putting your business first, you're creating a self-centered business. And this is really one of those top-down things where if you're doing this and your team is constantly seeing you do this, you are setting a precedent for your team. You're sending out a message that what we're doing here, the tasks, the clients, they always have a say in jerking us around. They always have a say in what's going to happen. And I feel like when you show up in your business that way to serve customers, to serve clients, it's really difficult. I won't say that you can't, but it's really difficult to meet them with a very genuine approach of a service-oriented mindset where you're really trying to serve them because you want to serve them, because you care about them. And it really starts to create this tension that you're resentful. I don't want to show up and serve you, but I have to. And I'm the one in the business and my team's in this business and they better do their job. It just snowballs into all these things. And so for you as a business owner, really being able to assess what's going on internally, what are these driving factors? Because they touch every single part of your business and they really touch the money pieces. And I think that that's one reason that financial health assessment is so important, because it's really hard to gauge that when you're looking in internally. It can feel overwhelming, and having somebody walk you through that process and kind of take the shame off of it too. For you as a business owner, kind of taking the shame off of it for you as an individual, that there's a way out, there's a way forward, and you're not broken, you're not doing it wrong. And I use this terminology, self-centered business, and that can feel like, for a lot of people, they're like, well, you're calling me selfish. Well, we're all selfish, let's be real. It's not anything against you. It's how we're wired as humans is to make sure our needs are met. survival of the fittest is what, you know, they call it. It's really about like looking at those things and being able to make decisions, conscious decisions, so that you can move forward with the right intent, so that your needs are being met, your desires are being met, but you're not feeling the overwhelm of what a self-centered business looks like, and it's not draining you. So a self-centered business is, it's all-consuming, it's demanding, ultimately dependent upon you. And it's not going to allow you to step away. It will hardly function without you. It won't grow without you. And it doesn't create space for leaders to grow and develop. That's both your team and that's you. Probably a lot of you, as we've been chatting about this, you're already kind of recognizing where that's happened in your business before, where those red flags have gone off and you've seen that's been the case. But just to like lay it out super clear again, so we're taking a little bit of a financial health assessment. We're also taking a little bit of an internal, like emotional, mental health assessment, because there's so much value in recognizing the truth that your emotional, mental capacity in both your personal life and your professional life are intermingled. Like, you're not going to be able to separate those things. And it's tangled up with the finances. It's tangled up with the team. It's tangled up with the marketing and how you position yourself and your branding. Like, all of those pieces are so connected. And so the more that you can do this internal assessment, and again, a subjective or objective, I don't know which word I'm supposed to be using there, but the more you can take a look at that and be able to notice what's going on and make observations so that you can move forward in health and setting yourself up for future growth, the better off you're going to be. So if you've been feeling that exhaustion and immense pressure personally, if you've been feeling limitations, loneliness is a big one, isolation, especially depending on like your personality type or like your style, your work style. A lot of times these things can show up where you feel really lonely, feel really isolated, working online, especially. A lot of people I know deal with this. And a lot of community in the next year is coming. I've been hearing this a lot, that people are leaning into community, and I think this is a big reason why, and I'm so for it. And then the third one would be immaturity, contempt, or resentment. And I've talked about that a little before too, but how many times have you had a client come to you and they're like, I need to let you go for whatever reason. It doesn't even have to be a bad reason. It could be like a completely legitimate reason. And as soon as that client lets you go, you're like, oh, no, no, no. You know, you're either angry, you're bitter, you're upset, you're disappointed. And it's okay. It's okay to feel all the feelings, but those feelings are telling you something. And the more that you're dealing with those kinds of feelings, the more it's trying to tell you something of what may need to shift in your business. So let's shift. Choosing rest and productivity as an interdependent player will create sustainable and enjoyable habits in your CEO role. So what does that mean? If you are noticing all these emotional tensions, these mental emotional tensions, and the logistical tensions of constantly showing up in the business, not delegating, expecting that you have to be the one to fix every single problem and you are doing it alone, all those things are happening, it's likely that you are not choosing rest and you're not choosing productivity. And what that's saying to your team, what that's saying to your clients, what that's saying to your business is that rest and productivity are not important to me. If they are important to me, they will not be the number one priority. Rest and productivity will always come after me overexerting myself. And if you think about the dynamic that you have as a parent when you are mentoring a young child, caught is better than taught. You've probably heard that saying, but oftentimes when a child is learning from a parent, 90%, 80% of the time, they're not actually learning something a parent is teaching them. They're learning something a parent is displaying for them. And that's why often we'll hear them like rattle off something angry, you know, or they'll like say a word and like, who taught them that word? Like, as you're saying that word. Your space of rest and productivity are the example, and like, let's back up. It's not just the example for the outside world, it's the example for yourself. I heard somebody say a while back, or maybe I read it in one of their books, but If you make a commitment to yourself that you're going to show up and you're going to do something and then you don't, you have just told yourself that you're a liar. You just told yourself that you will break your own commitments to yourself and that you don't honor yourself, that you won't put yourself first, and that is such a hard place to be. So if you're making commitments to yourself for rest and productivity, there's grace. Like we all need variances of what this looks like. From day to day, it does look like, okay, maybe I had to cancel a workout today because there was something urgent going on. That's not the norm. But being able to set a precedent for yourself that rest and productivity is the thing that's really going to drive my business forward, because it's driving me forward in like full health and full life and enjoyment of life, and being able to like utilize and leverage all these tools at my disposal to make my business work better, to make me more of a business owner rather than a business employee, rather than having a job or having a machine like Kimberly was talking about. Okay, so what do you believe? Everything I've been sharing kind of comes out of this place of what is the belief system that you hold. Because I personally believe that everything we do in our day-to-day life comes from that place. Everything that we do comes from what are we believing about ourselves? What do we believe about our businesses? You have a living organism. Your business is a living, interactive being, and so you have a relationship with that. So what do you believe about yourself as CEO? How do you describe yourself? This would be a really interesting exercise. How do you, if somebody comes up to you off the street and they're like, how do you describe yourself as a CEO? Have you ever thought about what that looks like? Who are you as a CEO? What is your relationship
What?
with your business now? Yeah, I'm so curious. How would you describe yourself, Kimberly?
Oh gosh. Yeah. No, you're fine. Well, okay. So I think that most of my life I've definitely been more of like a lead by example kind of person. So I guess that I would kind of say that. And honestly, if I'm being completely honest, I've kind of taken this approach in the last couple of weeks to say that I too am not always setting the best example. Like I do tell my employees all the time, like make sure that you're taking lunch breaks, and we don't really need to work overtime here like 90% of the time. So like we don't want to be doing that stuff. But then obviously I'm not actually taking my own advice. So in the last several weeks, I've been doing the same thing, kind of reevaluating, what kind of a CEO I am and what kind of an example I'm setting. So
Yeah,
definitely good stuff
yeah,
here, Jade.
yeah. And I heard somebody recently talk about this in terms of self-leadership. Like really,
Mm,
it's hard.
yeah.
It's hard to lead yourself because you're in here. You're in it. So you're feeling everything that's going
Yeah.
on here. You're also feeling everything that's going on outside of you. And so when you're in those like low days, when you're in those hard spots, you have to be the one to kind of pull yourself out. And that's one reason why community is so, so important, and having people around you is so, so important. So let's jump into
Well,
see
how
some,
do you how do
yeah.
you describe yourself as a CEO?
So I always say that I am very um, positive, upbeat. I think probably the first thing I say is I'm laid back.
Yeah.
um, but someone described me recently as how did she say it? I have a resonant. She said I never heard this before. She said I have a resonant leadership style, and I googled it, and it's a leader that's very like in tune with the like with the well-being, the emotional state of their team. And I was like, yeah, like I feel like that's totally on point. Like I try to be very conscious of like how my people are doing,
Yeah.
because of everything that I've been sharing. But I was like, it was really cool to hear that, like to hear somebody else point that out and say that about me. Because then I
Yeah.
was like, oh wow, like that's what I want. It was a very encouraging thing.
Yeah, I think that can probably be the most insightful answer to this question is how would you describe me as a CEO? To, your employees, to your friends who know you well, to your family, how would they describe you as a
Yeah,
CEO? That could be an insightful activity too.
yeah, absolutely. And then For us, being able to believe that if we want that to shift in some way, you can position yourself, you can believe about yourself, and you can transform yourself into whatever you want to be, literally. So we're going to jump into some of the CEO truths, and we just have a couple. But if this is an area that's like a little bit of a triggering thing for you, and you're like, I know I need to work through this, I'm going to give you a couple of these to grab onto. Best time to do any kind of like meditative, transformative mind work stuff is like right when you wake up in the morning and right before you go to bed at night. And a really great tip is writing these things down. But it's super, super helpful to have these. So the first one, I get to share my vision with others and give them the opportunity to grow and advance it. The problems in my business will result in the greatest solutions. I love this one. And newfound strengths. This comes back to the financial assessment Kimberly does, like being able to grab hold of those problems and say, let's turn these into solutions. Being a leader is incredibly rewarding, even if it's hard. So let's talk a little bit more about productive rest and restful productivity. I love this quote. Balance suggests a perfect equilibrium. There is no such thing. That is a false expectation. There are going to be priorities and dimensions of your life. How you integrate them is how you find true happiness. Balance is a lie. You can use that word, if that like resonates with you, bringing balance to your life. But remember that the expectation is not to have a perfect equilibrium. It's to just prioritize the dimensions, the facets of your life. And this next quote, it's not about having a specific set time. Both personal and professional lives are 24/7. It's simply about making the right allocation to each one and recognizing it's going to be different every single day. This is so huge for me because I'm a homeschool mom. And it is really easy to get stuck in my head about what I should be doing when. And I have to remember literally every single day, I have to hold on to this and remember that today is different than yesterday was. Okay, so keys to productivity. Keep in touch with your vision and learn the art of communicating it. Underschedule and clarify priorities and expectations. This one's big for me. Underscheduling. Yeah, underscheduling. Underscheduling.
Just do it.
My work style, like I'm learning more and more. I have to have that downtime. Give yourself permission to lean into energy management. That's a part of the underscheduling thing, is leaning into energy management rather than time management. It's not just about how much time you have and where you're spending your time. It's about how much energy you have and what you're doing with that energy. It's really, really helpful to recognize different seasons of life too, or seasons in a cycle. If you're a woman cycling, like that's a really important thing to think about too. Keys to rest. Find patterns and safe places for rest and growth outside of work. Delegate in the context of healthy relationships and find genuine support. And explore ideas and execution through play, bringing more rest and joy into work. So the keys to productivity and the keys to rest can literally be swapped out in for each other. Because if you're resting really, really well, it's going to show up in your productivity. They're going to start to look a little similar, like where you have joy doing things that are productive in nature because you're rested, and vice versa. You can be productive in play. You can be enjoying something and have out like at the state fair. You can be out on a vacation and you are getting these ideas for content. You're getting these ideas for a workshop. And that happens like right when you lay down to bed at night and your brain is going with all these ideas. You're like, oh, I better write that down. Because rest and productivity are they're created to work hand in hand. Okay, so I'm just going to throw some questions at you as I wrap up my part here. We need to get back over to Kimberly so she can give us the solutions, some more of the solutions. So here's some questions to kind of jot down as you're doing that internal assessment. And if you need somebody to walk this through with you, I love this kind of thing. So let's do it. But here's a few. If you need a screenshot too, like grab a screenshot and work through these on, take a 30-minute break, take a 30-minute or an hour reset. And and go through these. Okay. Do you believe you can be rested and productive in your business? What would that look like for you? Do you feel rested now? Do you feel productive now? Like, I need to start every day asking myself these questions. What prevents you or has been preventing you from experiencing both rest and productivity in your business? I was reading a book recently, and there was like a series of questions, and one of the first questions was, what, list 10 things in your life that you were unhappy with or that you would like to change. And I was so shocked at the first thing that came to mind, and I was like, I can change this. Why have I not done something about it? I was literally, and then like within a week I made a change, and I was like, oh my gosh. I
That's
think
awesome.
yeah, I know, like I think we get like stuck in this mindset that we can't do something about things that we want to change. Okay, so number 4, which come more naturally for you? Are you more inclined to rest, or are you more inclined to productivity? Have you led your team to value rest, productivity, or both? Do you remember the most recent time you felt productive and also rested? And what set you up to feel that way? Okay, number 7, if you are going to increase rest and productivity in your weekly routine or workload, what that might look like and what needs to happen to see this change. And then what about daily? Is it possible to experience more rest and productivity in your day to day? Okay, last set of questions here. Number 9, what has made the biggest impact to date on your ability to rest and experience productivity in your business? I will say delegation. Like, my team is running things all the time and I'm not there. And it is so nice. They're serving clients, they're having conversations with clients in Slack. Like, that's where it's at. Delegation. So if you need a VA team, let me know. Number 10, how do you feel when you are regularly engaging in restful, productive habits? I say I feel more positive about my business. I have a more excited outlook about my business, what it can do, that it's not broken. And last question I'll leave you with, can you imagine what your business will look like as you practice restful productivity? That's a great exercise. Just like sit down and just close your eyes and imagine, like, what does your business look like in this in this um in this arena? Yeah. Kimberly, what was the question? Did you have one that like really stuck out to you?
Oh, yeah. I don't know. They all kind of do. But I think the one that I liked the most is like, if you're going to increase rest and productivity in your weekly routine or workload, like what might that look like for you? And again, that's because the last couple of weeks I've been trying to change that, because I think I spent the last probably 6 months to a year at least saying, once I finish this, to-do list, then I'm going to be more restful. I'm going to change how I have my schedule. And finally, like a couple weeks ago, I was just like, that's not going to work. Like,
Yes.
I'm going to have to just decide that I'm going to rest more and like actually do it. Like, it's not going to come naturally
Yes.
because
Yeah.
obviously I'm more productive naturally, I guess. I tend to try to push to get things done, and I don't really ever prioritize rest. So in the last several weeks, I've been like, it's not going to happen naturally. So I'm just going to have to like do it
Alone.
myself. Like, yeah.
Well, to you for saying like now's the time I'm going to make this happen. This is going to be
Yeah.
my new normal.
Yeah. New routine. So if you can create a habit, you can do that. So
Okay, take us through. I know
awesome.
like we only have a little bit of time left, so can you like get us to some solutions quick?
Yeah. Let's go, 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 go. Yes. Okay. So, own a machine, not a job. That's the solution, right? Turn your job into a machine, specifically a money making machine, right? So again, like all machines, your money making machine is made up of those multiple parts. And if the machine is failing or is not doing exactly what it's supposed to do, then one or more of these parts is either broken or not at peak performance. And so your job as the owner of the machine, not the machine, is to ensure that each part of the machine is running at peak performance. So I'm going to share those with you in just a second. But Okay, so put it simply, we want a business that makes money so that we can do these three things, right? We want to be able to take money out for personal use, personal goals, that kind of stuff. We want to be able to use the money to grow the business. And we want to be able to increase the value of the machine that we have because one day you're probably going to want to sell this business. Most owners, this is your retirement plan. So, how can we build it up the best so that you can get the most out of it in the future? So, taking it out for personal reasons, other than control of time, making money is what most people really want from their business. So you need a machine that allows you to take out as much money as you want. And so you can use this money to fund a better lifestyle, to go on vacation, to pay off personal debts, to send your kids to college. The list goes on, right? And then using the money to grow your business. Again, money solves every problem in your business. But money not only helps you to stay in business, but it also helps you to grow the business. And then lastly, most businesses are sold as a multiple of cash flow. So take how much money you're making and multiply it by 2 or 4, depending on the industry you're in, somewhere in between those numbers. And that's how much you're going to be able to sell your business for. And so if that number doesn't speak retirement money to you, we've got some work to do. All right, so these are the 3 ways that you can make money. So now let's jump into turning your business into a machine. Okay, so here are the 16 parts of a business. So like I mentioned, each business is made up of parts, and specifically, they're made up of 16 parts. And so your job as the owner of the machine is to ensure each part is at peak performance. Okay, so each part's job is to increase one of these 3 areas. It's either going to be revenue, which is what you sell, profit, which is what you sell less your expenses, and then cash flow is what you keep, okay? So some people get confused because that profit line doesn't include like debt payoff and stuff like that. So that leads to your cash flow. So just a quick example, revenue, say it's $50,000, and then you have expenses of $30,000. So that makes your profit $20,000. Then we have to take out taxes. We have to take out debt payments. We have to take out anything you want to pay yourself. And let's say maybe you didn't get paid by a customer. And so in this case, your cash flow is actually negative $5,000 because of all of those things that you had to deduct from your profit. But again, this money has to come from somewhere. So it's going to come from debt, it's going to come from your pocket, or it's going to come from the business bank account if you happen to have money there. So your job, we want to get that revenue as high as we can, but more important than revenue is profit. And even more important than profit is that cash flow number. We need to get those up as high as possible in order to be able to reach those goals. So if you improve revenue, profit, and cash flow, you do this by focusing on what drives those numbers. So these 16 parts drive revenue, profit, and cash flow. Here's the 16 parts. So if you want this list with a little bit more of like a clear definition and then some examples, then you can go to emeraldexpectations.com/parts. And you can get that there. But let's go over each of them kind of real quick. So drivers of revenue, we have our leads, which is the number of ideal customers that have been made aware of you. So they know that your business exists. Conversion rate is the percentage of leads that become paying customers. Our retention rate, which is the percentage of customers who come back every year. Our purchase frequency rate is the number of times a customer purchases from you in a year. So if you have like a monthly service, most cases that would be 12 times, right? And then our average transaction value. So the average value of every purchase a customer makes. So then we have our profit drivers. So things that drive profit, we have our cost of goods or cost of sales if you're a service person. So this is how much it costs you to actually provide the goods or the service for each sales transaction. And we measure this as a percentage of revenue. And then we have marketing expenses. So this is the total cost of marketing, again, measured as a percentage of your revenue. We have payroll expenses, or the total amount of payroll not included in your cost of goods. Sometimes if you have a service or a product, you actually have payroll in that cost of goods because you need it to create the product or service. And then number 4, we have overhead expenses. So this is all your other operational expenses like rent, insurance, office supplies, all that fun stuff. Do you have a question? Okay. Okay.
No, why? So I'm so sorry.
You're fine. I was just like, wait, what's this? Okay. Um, and then the parts that drive your cash flow. So we have, oh, I'm sorry, I missed other income and expenses. So that's just other non-operational income and expenses. So cash flow drivers, we have days sales outstanding. So this is the number of days it takes to collect from a customer. So you send them an invoice, maybe they take 10, 15, 30 days to pay it. That's your days sales outstanding. And then we have days inventory outstanding for those who sell products. So this is the number of days it takes for you to sell your inventory. So you get it in from your provider. How long does it take for someone to actually get that off your shelf? And then sale or purchase of assets. So selling assets or purchasing assets. So selling a truck or machinery is going to increase your cash flow, and then purchasing is going to decrease the cash flow. And then days payable outstanding. So this is the number of days it takes to pay your suppliers. So you get an invoice from your suppliers. How long does it take for you to actually pay them? And then using or paying down debt. So using debt is actually going to increase your cash flow, and then paying down debt is going to decrease your cash flow. But like we talked about in the beginning, you got to be careful because debt really should only be used to purchase things that are going to give you a return on your investment. And then lastly, we have owner investment or draws or distributions. So investing your own money into the business increases the cash flow. Taking money out of the business decreases the cash flow. Although I personally prefer the distributions. So all 16 parts affect every part of your business. And again, if you want the list, I posted it as an offer, so you should see that link there you can click on if you are interested in getting a list and all this fun stuff. So if you improve just one part, assuming that all the other parts remain the same, you're going to see an improvement in your business right away. So if you improve 2 or more of these parts, you're going to see a dramatic improvement in your business. So imagine if you could improve all 16. Your business will become a money-making machine, probably beyond what you can actually imagine. Yes, and this is how you can transform your business. So, in a nutshell, to have a growing and successful business, you must turn it into a money-making machine. To have a business that doesn't fail, you have to turn it into a money-making machine. To have a business that gives you back the control that you so want of time and money, you must have a business that's a money-making machine. Try to remember the point of the business is to make money. That's why it exists. Even though there are obviously underlying or overlying things that you want to do with your business, without money, it doesn't exist. Okay, so it's not easy because most business owners are not necessarily numbers people, right? And money and cash flow and the 16 parts of a business, they're all numbers, right? And so most business owners understand that they need to know their numbers, but they're not really excited about actually having to pour over the data and understanding the parts and which one needs improving and all that fun stuff, right? But I am. So I own Emerald Expectations Accounting. And I'm a financial professional who works exclusively with small to medium-sized businesses. And I do one thing well, and I transform businesses into money-making machines. I'm passionate about it. So I help businesses transform their business into a money-making machine by meeting with you guys as a client once a month. And kind of here's a little bit about how that works. So step 1, we're going to start with a kickoff call where we're going to kind of create these targets for all of the parts that we just mentioned that are going to drive the success of your business. So at the end of this kickoff call, you're going to know exactly what we're aiming for revenue, profit, and cash flow, all those targets. We want to make sure that these are aggressive but realistic targets. And I want you to have a wildly successful business and make a lot of money. So we're going to keep that in mind as we set all those targets. Then each month we're going to get together. I'm going to analyze your business and your numbers each month to determine how well your business is performing. And then I'm going to forecast where I think you're heading for revenue, profit, and cash flow. That way we can take steps now to prevent any issues that we might have in the future. And I do all this before we even get on our call. And then each month we're going to connect via Zoom, and I'm going to clearly show you where you've been, where you're going, so that you'll know, how well you're doing at staying on track to hit all those targets. I'm even going to give you like a super easy to understand color coded scoreboard to make it crystal clear about what's working. It literally looks like a stoplight. Like it's like green, you're good to go. Yellow is let's proceed with caution. And then red is like, hold on, this is where we need to look. And this is kind of where the magic of the service comes alive. So you and I will create a plan in the same Zoom call specifically designed to keep you on track to hitting those targets for that month. So instead of guessing what to focus on, I'll tell you. And at the end of the call, you'll have a precise action plan for you and your team. And the only thing left is for you to actually execute the plan, because the plan is specific and detailed, so you'll know exactly what to do during that month to execute the plan. However, if you run into roadblocks, because we all know those pop up, right? I'll just be an email or a phone call away. So you have unlimited access to me at all times, and I will be your go-to financial guide, or your best financial friend, as I like to say. And then each month we'll repeat this entire process over again. That way we can go from owning a successful or a stressful job to owning a successful money-making machine. So if you can use some help transforming your business into a money-making machine, let's get on a right fit call. And we'll jump on for 20 or so minutes just to kind of go through your goals and dig through the things that you really want to achieve with your business, and make sure that you're a right fit for me, I'm a right fit for you. And I'll share exactly what I do and how I'll do it. And then we'll go over all the fun fee stuff too, right? And you can decide if it's a right fit for you or not. So, all right. Now it's question time. If there's any questions. I don't see any questions that have come through, but Jade has prepared some questions. So Jade, I'm going to ask you your questions.
Okay.
How do I rest when things are going up in flames? Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, that's a hard one too, because I think there's not a one size fits all. It really depends on what's going on and how much time can you take away. I think the first thing is always communication. Communicate, communicate, communicate. When you can pull people in, when team members can support you, when anybody can support you, it could be help personally behind the scenes, letting somebody know my business is going up in flames. Can you help me with other stuff so I can focus on this? And then vice versa, being able to bring people into the business so that you can step away for a period of time. And sometimes this can just look like dealing with burnout, and sometimes it can look like something more serious, like there's health things going on in you or your family, and you really do need to step away. So creating a personalized support plan for yourself in those times is so key. But I would say the number one, like one size fits all piece of advice is communicate and let people know what you need and how they can support you.
Yeah, and find a mentor who can support you if that's an option. So, Jade, do you want to share a little bit more about how you could help mentor them if they are looking for someone to do that?
Yeah, I love doing the one-on work together where we're talking about whether it's systems and how to get you time back by streamlining things, creating SOPs around those things that are streamlined, so then other people can help manage or oversee it when you are away. I work through all of that stuff in one-on-one consulting, and I love starting in a strategy session to just start super high level, figure out where you're at, how are things feeling, how are you relating to your business as the CEO. We work through all of that stuff, and we start from order of priority all the way down and create 90-day plans to assess all these different pieces. And we can work through as much of the system side of things or the operational side with your team as much as you want, or just focus on how you are personally doing in the business and what your goals are as CEO. Because there are so many different connected pieces, whether that's where you want your business to be in 10 years or how you want the business evolving and growing. If you're, a coach, but you're also looking to develop courses. I'm working with someone one-on-one right now, and we're mapping out as she's going through the day to day with her business and building her team, she's also trying to map her new content plans for a new community and courses that she's developing. And she's also trying to support a loved one that's going through health, major health challenges. And so it's like, how do we tackle all this together? And I'm her support system as she works through that and kind of keeping her on track and accountable and making sure that her head's above water and she's breathing. So if that's
That's
something that
awesome.
is remotely interesting to you, let's start with a strategy session and go from there. Yeah.
So, wow, that sounds awesome. Okay, so another question. What are the signs of burnout? How do you know if you're a self-relying CEO or self-centered?
Yeah, I think definitely the first couple of things is recognizing, um, are you tired? And everybody could probably raise their hand and say, yeah, that's me. But being able to acknowledge these things is huge, because sometimes you might feel like you can't do anything about them, but that mentality is what's going to keep you stuck. So even if you're like, well, I'm tired and it's just par for the course or whatever at this season, like for me, it's like I have a 7-month-old baby. He's not a newborn anymore, but we're still waking up in the night. So there's a little bit of give and take with where you can deal with these things, but it's so, so important to first recognize what's going on that really needs to be dealt with. So are you tired? Are you feeling alone? Really taking inventory. And a lot of those questions that we went through earlier are really helpful to identify burnout.
Yeah, that's awesome. Good notes. Um, are there any things I can do to help myself stay on task?
Hmm. I'm going to hit again the same thing I said earlier, which is that everything that you do kind of comes out of that belief system, what you're believing about yourself, what you're believing about your business, and how you're feeling about yourself and feeling about your business. So, one of the most important things, and I do this very often, is I pay attention to how I am feeling. Your feelings are not the dictator, but they are kind of an operating level function. It's like a gauge. Like you can put that lever up or you can pull it down. That's how our feelings are. They can kind of pull us forward where we're feeling motivated, or they can pull us down where we're feeling like we want to give up or throw in the towel. And so, what I would recommend is a super, super practical tip to kind of bring it down to earth is just jotting through those things, like really taking some time and writing them out on paper. If you're not somebody that does that likes to kind of journal through things, get like a voice memo. You don't have to necessarily rattle off your whole internal world to another person, especially if you don't have someone you trust. But those like note-taking tools or like a voice memo, just drop those voice memos in there. It is so helpful, especially when you're looking back in hindsight and you can see like, wow, here's what I was dealing with 6 months ago, and I've overcome all of these different obstacles. Like that's a really amazing feeling. So super practical, kind of journal through those things or talk through those things and process them. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, those are good practical tips. Should I know when I need to pivot in my business and how hands-on should I be?
I heard a really good podcast about this recently where she talked about how to do this in phases. So, the first thing that you want to do is you want to map out like what is it that you are supposed to be or feeling like you need to pivot, put it before somebody, and then wait. It reminds me of that quote that says like, sleep on it, or don't make decisions hastily. Like don't make it without don't make a decision without sleeping on it. Like that's a really big one. I think when you're in a period or a season of life where you're feeling a really big shift coming, it's so, so important to take time before you make that decision or before you make that shift. So, um, write them out. Think about what they are, what they look like. Imagine what a timeline looks like. Get mentorship, outside perspective, help before you make decisions, and give those decisions enough breathing room so you can make sure that they're the right fit. And do like a little bit of beta testing. That was also something she touched on in the podcast that I heard. But if you want that, reach out to me. I'll share that podcast with you. It was really good on how to make those incremental shifts in a way that feels really good with beta testing and stuff like that. Yeah.
I think beta testing is something that people super overlook, but that's definitely
Yes.
a good tip.
Yeah, I was going to say anything to add. Beta testing is a big one.
Yes, it is definitely. Well, we did kind of share this a little bit, but if you do want help from either one of us, here's the links. I also dropped them in the chat. So you can get that one-on-one strategy session with Jade, or you can book a right fit call with me here. I also linked where you can get those 16 parts if you want a little bit more detail and go into a little bit more than we could on this workshop here. Then that link is on the page and also in the chat. So unless anybody else has any other questions, we just want to say thank you so much for joining us. Here's how you can stay in touch with each of us. We'd love to have you, connect with us on socials, or just shoot us an email if you have questions or want to chat a little bit further. We are totally open to that.
Yes, thank you guys. This was so fun, Kimberly. Thank you for joining
Yeah.
me. Collaboration. This is awesome.
Yeah, it was. It was so much fun. Thank you, Jade.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing all your good nuggets. You've got lots of great information to share.
Thank you. And I'm so excited to be doing that financial assessment with you soon. This is something I've needed for a long time. Yeah, like I feel like I kind of got on top of like my finances like a year or two ago, and then the whole thing was like recalibrate a little bit.
I know. Finances are one of those fun things where it's like you kind of have to keep up with it. And it's like, you can totally get on top of it, feel so good about it. And then like a month later, you can have the total opposite feeling. It's so easy to like fall down the hill,
Yeah, but I love that like approach in business of like kind of hitting like things every quarter. Like you kind of cycle through things. Okay, like let's focus on finances. This is like the main priority. Like, okay, let's focus on marketing. And like I think that's kind of normal. I think a lot of entrepreneurs kind of lean that way.
Yeah, I think so too.
If they have somebody like you're always doing it for them, right? So it's like
Yeah,
delegating.
exactly. You don't have to stay on top of it all.
Awesome.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Jade. We'll see you guys hopefully on social or within our emails, but it was great chatting with all of you guys, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.